morning. Welcome to Grow Your Power, presenting the skills and experiences of homesteading. For anyone who wants to save money, gain independence, or maybe just get down and dirty. I am your host, Anne Greenfield. Homesteading is about doing things on your own, making rather than buying things, staying out of stores. The medium for homesteading is usually nature, relating to natural resources, to other organisms, and to non-human creations. Nature is a big, wide world. David Abram, in The Spell of the Sensuous, states that ever since we all learned to read and write so well, we have a profound, reflexive sense of self. Mostly we talk to ourselves, to other people, and to our technologies. This is what we know. Humans in an indigenous oral culture experience their own consciousness as simply one form of awareness among others. Their survival depended on understanding the other consciousnesses. In this Grow Your Power show, I have joined with about 8 local people to share our stories and poems about connecting with other consciousnesses. A while ago in a dance class, we were asked to choose a plant and then create a dance of that plant. I chose borage. Borage is a garden plant with blue flowers that the flowers can decorate a salad, and with rather rough leaves that brew a good tea. When I danced as a borage plant, I found myself first sprawled on the floor as roots, then being pushed, heaved upwards from the soil, with a brave new shoot that grew higher and higher. My body felt strong. Leaves unfurled from my sides, tickling slightly as they grew. Many branchlets reached out like arms and felt the breezes. Water I thirstily sucked up with my roots and happily channeled it through my leaves and branches. And one day I felt myself explode, once, twice, many times, into a myriad of periwinkle blue flowers. My flowers felt like an offering to the world. I welcomed the bees that would come to suck on the flowers. Humans would pick them or admire them. My leaves were full of nutrients that would benefit insects and humans. I belonged in the world. In this creative dance, I felt another's body as my own. I still feel especially bonded with the borage plant whenever I see one. Abram says that to directly perceive another being is to enter into a living interaction with it. Our common linear way in which we observe an organism is from outside its world. We define how it moves, what it eats, how it darts its beak into the water. Can we shift out of our common state of consciousness in order to actually make contact with another form of sensitivity and awareness with which we are entwined? The dog has become loved by many people and perhaps has become the major venue for entering the world of non-human organisms. Chris Perkowska reads a poem story that she wrote about her dog. Chris is a physician's assistant at the Forestville Wellness Center and facilitates a women's writing group. The title of her story is The Bridge Between the Wild World and the Human World.
My dog is so dear to me. I often think he is the embodiment of a soulmate who had a human form once. I even thought that my ex was jealous of Cassius the other day. He thought Cassius was in the other dog's space too much at the river, and I defended him, saying, "It's his breed. He's a herder." Cassius is a dear, dear soul who is frisky and fun and sees me beyond human recognition, knows me by my smell, watches me in a way no human will ever see me. He's aware of my presence, my every move in the mornings, communicating psychically. "Please, please take me to the doggy daycare so I can play all day with my friends." His whine or growl or expression is so dear to me. The other day at the river, he swam and swam with me like a beaver partner. He learned to not paw and scratch. He allowed me to hold him and relaxed in the water. He swam by my side, back and forth, up and down, so faithful, so loving, so companion, more than any partner I've had thus far. At this point, he's the one for me. His love is full of unwithheld longing beyond the petty state of all things human. He's my guy till a good one comes along.
In hearing other stories about connection with nature, I was struck by my friend Lorene's story about connecting with deer.
Spirit guide. I remember this. I spoke once to a young deer, a yearling along the side of the road. I in my car, window down. He nimbled over and licked my cheek. Deer is my number one spirit guide. Another time I heard deer's voice, signal to her young, be alert. I've learned to make that call. I can stop a deer in its tracks. I'm a witness. Saw a pair of deer grooming each other tenderly. Mother deer hides her twin fawns, separate hiding places. Survival chances better. I wish I had lived before wild creatures became so wary of us, myself, my fellow humans. I can imagine a holy peace not to be the source of terror. All the wild ones hide from us. I sense they pray we'll disappear. The kingdom will be theirs again.
Open the window and see what there is to see, past the dirt on the pane, past the computer on the table, past the lists in your head. Feel the emotions gush from the gut, untangle, open up, go up with the tree, down to glory in gold of dandelion, and settling with warmth and well-being in the sunny greens of grass. Now I'm going to present David Laverine. David is a local man whom we call Gardener David, Plant David, or I've just renamed him Fire and Flower David, because he always tends the campfires and he brings flowers wherever he goes. David is going to talk about some specialty crops that he grows, Plants of the Incas.
I got interested in the yacon plant back in 1990 when I read about it a little bit, and it is the relative of our Jerusalem artichoke or sunchoke plant, and it is grown in the Andes, South America, Peru, Chile, Bolivia. I got it originally through a woman from Maine, and the yacon plant is quite amazing. It makes a very large fleshy tuber, sort of like a jicama, but it has a consistency of like an Asian pear. It can be quite sweet. You can take that tuber and turn it into a sugar, like a syrup, like a maple syrup or agave. And I've tried it once, and it was quite interesting. Quite sweet. And what's great about that plant is that it's really good for diabetics because it has inulin, and it does not. The sugars in it pass through you, and it tastes sweet, but it doesn't. It's not sweet in the sense of sucrose or glucose. But anyway, some other plants that I've grown from down there that I'm really fascinated with. One is called a mashua, and the mashua is a tuberous nasturtium that grows up to 15 feet in a year, and it makes up to 10 pounds of white tubers that look kind of like grubs. And what's fascinating about this plant is that the leaf stem is the tendril part that grabs on as it climbs, and it grows so rapidly, and it doesn't do any blooming like a regular nasturtium would until October or November. And you can watch it grow every day. It grows so fast. The tubers are quite spicy. They're kind of a combination of radish, wasabi, and anise for the aftertaste. And you can eat them raw in salads. You can make kind of a horseradish sauce out of them, or you can bake them. And I've done that quite a few times, where you bake them with just like salt and pepper and olive oil, and they're quite delicious. They get softer, and they don't have that real strong spicy kick that to some people is too hot, almost like wasabi. And then another plant that I'm really passionate about is called oca, O-C-A, and it is Oxalis tuberosa, and it comes in many different colors, and it's a small 3-inch or so size grub. Oh, I forgot to mention the mashua will get up to a foot long. The tubers will, and in a big giant, half barrel, you'll get at least 10 pounds of tubers out of that. The oca is an oxalis. It's quite ornamental, and it comes in pink, white, yellow, orange, red, striped. It's quite amazing. And it is quite delicious. It has a very waxy consistency, and that one you actually have to cook. You bake it just like with olive oil and salt, and it is just so delicious in the oven. I've been growing that one for about 20 years. I started growing the yacon 26 years ago. And it's interesting because that was the year my daughter was born, so I always think of that plant in relation to my daughter as to how old she is, and I've been growing that plant for that many years. Another plant that I love to grow that a lot of people know about is called the goldenberry, and it is like a tomatillo, and the plant looks like kind of a tomatillo plant, and it makes orange berries in a husk, and they are really delicious, almost citrusy flavor, and they're really high in vitamin C. And I've seen them for sale at Andy's dried, and they dry into amazing raisins. They're very high in vitamin C, and they're very easy to grow. And what's fun about those, kind of like tomatillos, is that when they're ripe, they fall off the bush, and you just pick them up off the ground, and the papery husk is quite protective of the fruit, so that they can be on the ground for quite a while and not rot. Another plant from down there that I've grown a bit is called a babaco, and it is a Peruvian papaya. And it's very interesting. It's subtropical, so it does need a bit of protection in the winter, but after 1 year, it gets very tall, about 8 feet, and it produces quite a few bright yellow Zeppelin fruits. And what's really interesting about this papaya is you can pick it off the tree when it just starts to turn yellow, and it will ripen in your kitchen, and the fragrance it gives off is just amazing. It is such a sweet, lemony kind of a fragrance that it gives off as it ripens. And what's interesting too is that, unlike papayas, this one you can eat the skin and there's no seeds in it whatsoever. And sort of like the goldenberry, it's not a very sweet fruit, but you can season it a little bit. I think they like to use hot sauce with it, but it's very delicious. It's very juicy, and it's called a babaco. And Doug Gosling at Occidental Art and Ecology Center has a few, and I've got one I gave to a friend. When it freezes in our climate around Sebastopol or Grayton, it usually dies. It's kind of hard for that to come back. But it's very ornamental, and when you get it established, it really produces. Another tree fruit like that's a little bit hardier is called a tamarillo, or tree tomato. And they come in yellow or red. They look like eggs when they ripen. They're quite beautiful. And the red one is the most common one. It has kind of a black seed cavity, so that when you take it out and the pulp and you blend it, it has a beautiful blackish red color. It tastes not unlike a plum, like a really ripe plum. And when you have the tamarillos in the fall, you let them ripen, and they get a little wrinkly, and then they're delicious, but the skin on that is not edible. And I cooked it once and made a jam. It was okay, but I think just eating it raw is really good. Another one that I've grown quite a bit of is called Aire, and that is edible canna edulis. And it's a beautiful, the variety I have is a red-leafed canna, and it makes a beautiful pinkish red flower. And what it's used for mostly is for thickening of soups and stews. And what's amazing in this book I've been studying called Lost Crop of the Incas, it has the largest starch molecule in the world of any plant, way more than potatoes. At least that's what the book said, and they show a picture of that. It's very interesting. You could take the canna tuber and you could poke it like a potato and bake it. And it's pretty good. It's a little bit tough, but when you use a grater and put it into a pot of soup or stew, it really does a really nice thickening job for that dish that you are making. Another crop that's very common that we all know about is quinoa, and that's another amazing grain that's grown down there. I've grown that a little bit, but there are a few farmers around here that grow it. There's a group of people over on Ferguson Road that grew it last year, but it's hard to process. And from what I understand, what they told me is that quinoa, once you harvest it and winnow it, you still have to do a whole other process to get it edible, and I think it deters people from growing that very much. And of course, another one that's very common is amaranth, and amaranth comes in many colors and sizes and whatnot, and that is another really nutritious grain that you can grow. The seeds are so tiny. A fun thing you can do with it is you can pop it like popcorn, and when it pops, it looks like itty-bitty little popcorn kernels. Another not common fruit that's grown down there is called cherimoya, and I see it for sale in some of the Sebastopol stores, and it is quite an amazing, it looks almost pineapple-like and quite full of seeds, but it's just delicious custard flavored fruit, and I think they grow a lot of it down in Santa Barbara because it also can't take our winters very well up here in Sonoma County, but they're beautiful and delicious, and I grew them once, but I never got any fruit off of them. And another one that we're familiar with is passion fruit, and that's another fruit that is grown down there a lot. There's many varieties. The purple one that we have up here can be grown successfully. I don't have one growing right now, but my friend Michelle does, and that one, it could take our winters pretty well. And then the one that I've heard about that is really quite delicious is called banana passion fruit, and it's a kind of a long yellow shaped one, and I think it's called that because of the color of the skin, not necessarily the flavor of the fruit. It is delicious. I had it one time, And there's also, there's peanuts, from purple Peruvian peanuts down there. There's a lot of different kinds of corn. There's a variety of other, they grow one quinoa variety just for the vegetation. They grow it just as a green versus a grain. And my friend grew some of that, Mike Collins, and it was quite delicious.
Reference to a crow. Crow in a trash can. Scavenger life. Orange peels, leftover taco bits. He's finding something, sitting on edge, pecking away, ducking head down, up, looking around, down again head, not aware of the disreputable life he leads. Let's take a musical break, and then we'll be back with Michelle Jensen, who will talk about her chickens and her bird, insect, bee habitat that she has grown.
Mama like hiking in the mountains. Mama like bicycles too. Mama really like it when the sky is so blue. She cares for me and you. Mama like miles of coastline, surfing the waves on the beach. Mama really like it how the fish swim in the sea. She cares for you and me. She cares for you and me. Mama like being a free bird, just like she like world peace. Mama really like it when everyone agrees. She cares for you and me. She cares for you and me. Mama like old-fashioned music, John Hartford and Woody Guthrie. Mama really likes it when everybody sings. She cares for you and me. She cares for you and me. She cares for you and me.
Let's walk through here, through all these green and wonderful shrubs.
Talk about your feelings. What's it like to be a rescue chicken? You were in like tiny little spaces and now you have a third of an acre to run around in.
So this is my friend Michelle Jensen from Santa Rosa, California, and her chickens. So how did you get involved with so many chickens?
I've always liked chickens. My mom had chickens when I was really young, and they all got, swooped up by owls. And I just always thought it would be nice to become friends with them. And then, as you know, I had like 60 chickens because we couldn't, kill anybody. We couldn't get rid of the roosters. So we just kept on having them here. And I just wanted to see what these chickens would create. There were all sorts of types.
Really?
Yeah. I just wanted, I wanted to see the breeding going on. And then I also felt guilty about like taking their babies away. So I moved to this house here on SUNY Point Road in Roseland in 1997 because I wanted chickens. And they're freaking out. Because that was a legal place to have them. So that was my main thing. And then I got in trouble for noise pollution because the roosters were so loud. Like usually people get like barking, letters from the city, and I had
crowing letters.
I had crowing letters. I had to go to court over it.
This poor woman in the...
Because I moved here and I was told I could have chickens, and then they said no, you can't, and I was like blown away. And then I got rid of them all, and now I guess it's legal to have chickens again.
Is it?
It's legal, yeah. I don't really know how many, and so I got 20. I got 15 recently. I got 15 rescue chickens from Animal Place in Grass Valley, and they are not like the prettiest chickens, and they've been through a lot of trauma, but they need this home. They need it. Their beaks are clipped. They seem completely flipped out. If I walk near them, they all fly like, somebody's going to come kill them. But they're fun. They're fun to watch. They flip out all the time. They're always like, oh my God, the sky is falling. Oh my God, here she comes. And the dog comes, the cats come, and everything flips them out,
Uh-huh.
They probably do good with some anti-anxiety medication.
Yeah. Do you compare yourself at all to chickens?
I used to when I was getting my master's in family therapy. I'd go, children are, kind of like chickens. If you're raised properly, you'll do really good. And the babies that were raised by their chickens thrived better than if they were just like raised, in like an incubator.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I do. I kind of like use the analogy.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and the chickens
Yeah.
follow their truth, and they listen to their themselves, and they go, okay, it's time to go to bed. They don't kind of push themselves past the envelope.
Yeah, they don't worry about what they should do.
Right.
Or shouldn't do.
Right. They don't worry about that. No, they worry about life or death, but they don't worry about shoulds. Yeah.
Well, I've seen you hug your chickens, and I saw them for years, I think, just hanging out on top of your dryer in your washing machine.
Yeah.
And I'm so proud of you being able to keep your uniqueness and have chickens on your dryer and washing machine.
They were getting eaten all the time, and I didn't know it was catching them, so I took a couple in there, and then the others wanted to come in too. But now, thank God, I have a nice, safe place, so they don't all have to make my place smell like number 2 all the time. Yeah, got a little old cleaning it up, but yeah, I do.
Yeah, okay, so you've got a really tight pen now.
I got it. Yeah,
for them.
I have a good pen now. Yeah.
And can you tell me any little stories about strange things that happened between you and your chickens?
I had one that I got from the Humane Society, and she was a brown chicken. Sorry, I don't know her breed. I knew a lot of them before. And I remember we got her, and she would give me a lot of eye contact. Oh, here we go.
What did they freak about?
I think they just freaked out because Woody, the dog, got in there and wanted to eat their food. Not them, but their food. Yeah. Yeah. So I had this chicken who was really interested, and she would give eye contact all the time, and she constantly followed me and anybody else. She was really kind of a people stalker. And she was really kind of special. And like at night, she would just stare, like always like wanted lots of eye contact. Yeah, constantly, yeah.
What was her name?
Her name was Buddha. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then we had another chicken that I really liked, and I think she was an Aire that I got, and she would jump for grapes, and she would lay eggs in front of the sauna. And she was laying eggs until she was like 10 years old. Until she was passing away. Yeah, when she met the rooster, I think she got kind of excited, and she got a little horny and was like, good times. I mean, you can have...
Is that when she started laying more eggs, you mean?
Again, yeah, she started laying eggs again. I think he made her happy. I know that chickens don't have to, have a rooster to be fertile, but she just seemed like she was really happy to get his attention. Kind of changed her.
What do we know?
Yeah, right. What do we know? Exactly. Yeah. I know, huh?
One of those mysterious romances.
And they've helped the property a lot because of the chickens, poop. helped,
Right,
yeah, it's helped the garden a lot.
right.
Everything grows really well here.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell me about when you first came here and there was nothing here, like no trees, and now
Yeah, look at it.
it is lush. There's a little green algae pond and all kinds of trees and bushes. And so you came here, and how did it happen to go from a gravel patch to
Yeah.
this?
It was all clay soil, third of an acre of clay soil, and there was, of course, the oak tree, which is a huge oak tree. That was it. And I just started bringing native plants here, and I went to Wayward Gardens, which used to be here. You know, this is 20 years ago. Wayward Gardens, and I'd become a master gardener, so I found out about Wayward Gardens, and I went and got a bunch of plants that were supposed to be beneficial for hummingbirds and other creatures. So I had native honeysuckle and native plants, native currants. And then I went to Occidental Arts and Ecology Center. I got a lot of native plants from there, and I just started making it like a sanctuary. So I have buckeye, which is native, and then I put this kind of white trash pond with duckweed, which is really beneficial for chickens and everything. And, it'd be easier not to have clay soil, but I just amend it. I use gypsum and compost, and I just grow everything I can. So I grow a lot of natives, and I grow a lot of heirloom variety vegetables, and it's flourished here. I have lots of birds, lots of bees, lots of butterflies. It's kind of an oasis in the middle of a really crazy area in Roseland, I mean, like I told you, I just got my car stolen, from the front of my house. My cat just got killed in front of my house. And it's because it's so crazy out there, because it's really city-like. They're going to be putting in like a fish and chip place across the street. They're putting in all these buildings, but I have this sort of haven in the back of my yard. Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's important for people to have nature around them as much as possible.
Why is that?
Because we were, I think, thousands of years ago, and God, even 200 years ago, we were surrounded by nature more. I think some people have become an enemy of nature, but there's so many studies that say that people just do better with nature and having a relationship to nature. I think there's something about the green that heals them. There were some studies done in Japan recently about people that are walking through the forest and how it helps their immune system. And they say it helps it because of the smells of the forest and the energy of the forest. And so I think that nature heals. Nature heals. There's a lot of studies too, and I've practiced it myself, getting your feet wet and barefoot and just putting your feet on the earth kind of helps getting that grounding, the electromagnetic field, getting your whole body and spirit kind of woken up by earth.
Yeah, very neat. Yeah, and there's a chi of trees now that I've read where supposedly certain trees, or all trees, give off some kind of energy, vibration, and they can be healing. Like, I think it's fir trees that will heal bruises.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really awesome. So I guess we got to get some fir trees going.
And so, and I'm always happy to hear anybody that really understands an animal enough, whether it's a chicken or a dog or a goat, to really have a relationship with them. I think that's it's like understanding somehow the non-literate organisms.
And it doesn't mean that I have to have like a deep one-on-one conversation with the chicken and ask the chicken to know what I'm feeling and how I'm doing, and I don't have to have it process my feelings, but but I do think it's important to kind of honor the nature of other animals so that we can have a better relationship to nature. I think it's important to work with what you have. Like if you don't have any room to garden, I think it's important to get some really big container plants so you can grow as much as you can to kind of keep nature growing and having a relationship to nature as much as can. And I just wanted to make the planet a better place.
Right on.
The best I could, yeah.
Yeah, I'm feeling that really strongly now too. Mostly having a granddaughter.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, I want this to be the best place for her.
Yeah, and you want her to love it too.
Yeah.
I think you have to teach nature to kids sometimes. As you know, I used to go to Bodega with you, and I would always collect the pollywogs that I felt like were dying, you know. And you know, God, frogs are fragile. Nature is fragile right now. So I think you're right. The more we grow coyote bush, buckeyes, honeysuckles, currants, local currants, they're really good for the birds. You know, it's not about me getting my food. It's about nature kind of getting fed as much as possible. So I try to grow as much as I can for the birds.
Nice.
You know, and for other creatures too, if they come in the yard. You know, the possums, the raccoons once in a while. I grow a lot of radish plants because a lot of bugs are attracted to that, and then they'll like kind of not pay attention to my other plants.
Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah, thank you.
Time is of the essence, but nature is essential. The truest form of unconditional love comes from plants. Love is all you need. But nature is where it feeds. Oh, Mother Nature bats last in the game of life.
That was Dorothy Morgan. She has a show on this Cows radio station. That's KOWS 92.5 FM. Her show is called Plant Passions, and it is the first, third, and fifth Wednesdays of the month at 4 p.m. Another musical break, and then we will be talking about Buddhism and nature. I am living on a 3-acre parcel right now, owned by a Burmese Buddhist teacher. I am able to exercise my large gardening projects there. But the other day I wandered down to a patio decorated in her Buddhist fashion. Small and spare, I would call it. A 1-foot by 3-foot pond. Small, with a couple floating succulents. A small run of flowers on one side of the patio, and a beautiful shade structure using all natural materials, and chairs sat around a table, and the chairs were of an undulating and curvilinear shape, which I see as the basic lines of all nature. The feeling to me, sitting there and observing, was peaceful, pleasing to my nature eyes. So I have asked my landlady, Dr. Tintin, to speak on the connection between nature and Buddhism.
A very important example of how the Buddha acted upon his enlightenment that will give you a lot of the depth of his relationship to nature. He got enlightened under the Bo tree in India. And when he became the Buddha, as an enlightened Buddha, he was so grateful to the Bo tree for giving him shade and refuge, because he was sitting there, I don't know exactly how many days, but it gave him shade, it gave him shelter, that he could meditate peacefully. He stood and just looked at the tree, according to the legend, for 7 whole days, and contemplating gratitude and the nature of the tree which had given him shelter. Even there are rules for the monks that when they are walking bare feet for their alms bowl, for their meals, when they are begging, going around with a begging bowl, he admonished his followers, monks, to watch the ground very carefully so that they don't accidentally kill, even the lower, living beings. So that shows the whole wide range of his concern about surrounding. Also, some rules for the monks that when they cook meals, they should only use enough wood for one meal, to cook one meal, and not more than that. For example, like 3 sticks of wood. I'm just giving an example, not to waste wood for preparing their meals. One of the monks' rules is that they should avoid eating meat of wild animals served to them. They are allowed to eat only meals served by villagers who have cooked from their domesticated animals. And so there's kind of, several layers of teachings and admonitions for his followers. The relationship between nature and man is so profound. I grew up by the ocean, and I was nurtured by the ocean, climbing trees and, just walking on the grass, that sort of thing. I was very much in tune with nature. And so I'm 77 now, during the course of my life, I've always moved from cities to countryside. So finally, I ended up in this very rustic region of Sonoma County, which is, of course, it's my paradise. here. The movement towards the forest, towards nature, is a big part of path to enlightenment. Monastic community was from the forest. It started from the forest, and they were living under the trees.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tin.
You're most welcome. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
My first family screen interview. Here's another cow's man.
Oh, good.
Yes, this is mine.
And here we are at the Sebastopol, California Sunday Farmers Market.
Yeah.
And Nancy, I wanted to ask you, why? What is it about nature that makes it a passion for you?
It's kind of magical. It's like I plant a seed or I put a plant in the ground and it responds to me, and I do cuttings. I have cuttings from my grandmother who died in 1982 of her hydrangeas, and I now have them in my home in Forestville, and they're in the ground and they're in pots, and it's like this thread that pulls in so many parts of my life, of my past, and very treasured parts of my life. So it just feeds me. It's like my art does too, but plants, it's like all water, and I'm looking around and noticing some new thing coming up, or maybe the health of one plant that's becoming stronger, and it makes me smile.
Yeah, plants make me feel lots of different things depending on the plant. And I've been enjoying relating to that lately.
So do you have specific plants that bring up specific feelings?
But I would go to a tree and feel what the message was, the vibration it was giving me. And that's probably what connected me more than anything. And so I felt like I was listening to this tree. And so, and what I could give back was, I don't know, admiration, kindredness, something. So, yeah, that's been really fun. And so I'm trying to do that with other plants, too, and animals. And right now I feel like every tree in this county is my friend.
That's nice. Yeah, to me, nature is like church. It's absolutely a very sacred spiritual thing that I have with all the green stuff and the animals and the insects and the birds that I feed, and I save insects that fly in my house if I can and take them out, and I just feel like there's something mysterious, delicate, and real, that I can see and touch and hug a tree.
And paint.
And paint.
And draw.
Yeah. Although I don't paint them exactly, I do abstracts, so it comes out. It just comes out.
Bodega. I am native to the brown, dry grasses, blowing blonde in the wind, stretching out over acres uphill and downhill. I am native to the statuesque live oaks, arms bending in trust to the earth, or gallantly reaching to the sky, giving me strength and acceptance. I am native to the most tiny scarlet pimpernel flower, 3 colors in a 1/4 inch, salmon, purple, and yellow. And to all the greens I can eat, sourgrass and nettles, and mint and miner's lettuce. In my blood are the green forests and blackberry bushes that fed my heart as I watched my goats munch. And the dark, dark nights, no streetlights, but stars, stars. And the white, white moon I discovered mysteriously floating over my house. My roots go down, down. Wild Geese by Mary Oliver. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert, repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clear blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination. Calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over announcing your place in the family of things. E. Cummings writes, I thank you, God, for most this amazing day, for the leaping greenly spirits of trees, and a blue, true dream of sky, and for everything which is natural, infinite, which is yes. On Grow Your Power today, we have heard wonderful stories and poems about human connections with dogs, chickens, and deer, with plants of the Incas and native plants of Sonoma County, California. Tune in to Grow Your Power on Facebook or SoundCloud to hear all the shows past and present. Grow Your Power is about homesteading anywhere and nature everywhere.